Through my years of teaching Rushy little riders and speed demon students, and I've compiled 6 of my top tips for working with Rushy students. We want to walk by our horse just like we walk next to a friend. Quality of what we do is often better than being able to do more. Hey, hang on, we're rushing through it. Let's start over. Do you teach adaptive or therapeutic horseback riding lessons to students who like to rush? If you do, you're not alone. And what I mean by those rushing students are the ones that might be leading their horse around for a warm-up lap before they get on, and they're just moving a million miles an hour and leaving their poor horse behind and kind of dragging them around the arena. Or when it comes time to go get on for their lesson, they're so excited that they rush up to the mounting block or mounting ramp, and you're scrambling trying to get them to slow down, and they're scrambling to get on, and maybe they plop down on their horse's back because it wasn't as slow as controlled as we had wanted it to be. Or once we're on, they're that type of student that instead of going through really good quality arm circles, that it's more of just a rush and a race to get to the count of 10, and there's arms flailing everywhere. Or even they're rushing into those transitions. That's where I see it a lot, is they get super excited to go from a whoa to a walk, or especially walk to a trot, and they don't take their time to prepare themselves or their horse, and then energy gets a little escalated, cues get sloppy, horses might get a little frustrated. So Rushy students can offer several challenging situations and scenarios that instructors have to deal with. If you've taught these students, like I mentioned, you're not alone, and I have taught countless students like this over the years. So a little bit about me. My name is Sabra Popoli. I'm the owner and founder of Hoof Falls and Footfalls, and I've been teaching traditional and adaptive or therapeutic horseback riding lessons for over 15 years. And through Hoof Falls and Footfalls, I am on a mission to help educate, equip, and encourage fellow instructors just like you to help give you guys tools and tips to take your teaching to the next level so that you can keep providing super safe, professional, and fun lessons to all ability riders that you might be teaching to. So through my years of teaching these Rushy little riders and speed demon students, I have made lots of mistakes and I've had lots of successes, and I've compiled the trial and error of all these years of teaching into 6 of my top tips for working with Rushy students. So let's go ahead and get into the list. I'm going to give you the first 5, and you're going to see how they kind of all come together in tip number 6. So my first tip for working with that Rushy student is to use counts or countdowns with them. So what I mean by that is that when our student gets super excited to do something like going and getting on their horse, we can use countdowns to help slow them down and let them know how much time they should be spending at each step. So for example, if you have steps leading up to your mounting platform, you can have them count the steps as they go up, and having to count slows them down a little bit. Then we can have feet ready on that mounting platform, count to 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then we gather up our reins, get ready, and it's a 3 count as we take a breath and swing that leg up and over and gently sit down. So 1, 2, 3, up and over, sit down. So countdowns are super helpful for mounting. They are also super helpful for another time where riders might get excited, which is transitions. And when those riders are going from a halt to a walk or a walk to a trot, we can use countdowns to help slow down the speed at which they're giving their cues, slow down their brain so that they're just spending a little bit more time thinking about what they're actually going to do. And depending on the cognitive ability of your rider, you can even tie different pieces of your cue of how you do the transition to that count. So a 1, 2, 3 could mean breathe in for 1, say walk on 2, and then we give a gentle hug with our legs on 3. So that's a way that you can work in countdowns or count ups, whatever works best for your student. So tip number 2 is to link the speed at which you need them to do something to a specific place that they can see. So 2 examples for that would be the speed at which I need my rider or my student to move around the arena as they're leading the horse is the same speed that keeps their shoulder across from their horse's head. A phrase I'll use a lot is we want to walk by our horse just like we walk next to a friend. We're not going to leave our friend behind, and we're also not going to let our friend drag us around. So walking next to that friend, that horse is going to be that physical marker to help control that rider's speed if they're physically rushing and walking a little bit too fast with their horse on the ground. Another way that you can link a physical cue like that would be during warm-ups and something like arm circles. So students who really get rushy on those arm circles and they're just kind of flailing their arms, you can tie it into, okay, during this arm circle, we're going to be doing it with hands towards your horse's ears, then hands to the sky, then hands to your horse's tail, hands down to the sand. And giving that marker, it's going to tie into another cue here in a second, but giving those physical markers can help your student slow down and process those different pieces that they need to accomplish. And it's not just flinging my arms around 10 times, but it's actually 10 times of doing full reps. And this is what that rep actually looks like. Tip number 3 is don't be afraid to hit pause or say whoa to your student. I know we say whoa to our horses a lot, but sometimes you just need to slow them down, hit pause, tell them, hey, hang on, we're rushing through it and let's start over and let's try again. And if we do need to hit pause, that's usually a cue to us as an instructor that we need to implement one or more of these other cues that I'm mentioning on this list of 6 so that we can set our students up for success and not just do the same thing over and over and then have the same results of that student rushing and then they're getting frustrated and we're getting frustrated. So hit pause, don't be afraid to take charge as that instructor and be in your instructor role. We can be firm and also caring, but that can really help our students slow down, take a breath, start over, implement a cue that's going to help lead them to success, and then have them try again. Another thing that you can implement is really being aware of your tone and inflection and the rhythm and speed at what you're saying to your student. So, for example, when we are getting on to mount our horse, if I know that that student is really rushing through the mount and they're excited to get on, I'm going to have a really nice, calm voice. I'm going to stretch out those words. I'm going to really stretch out the count 1, 2, 3. I might add in a breath and lead by example. Breathing is wonderful, by the way, for all of these cues, work breathing into them. But watch your tone and your inflection, because sometimes we can actually create a rushing student by having too much energy and too much upward inflection and excitement into our voice. And we need to bring down the tone of the lesson by leading by example and really be aware of how much impact our tone, inflection, rhythm can have on what our students are doing. Another example too, in addition to the mounting, going back to those arm circles or upward transitions from walk to trot, is how quickly you do those counts or say the cues. So for our walk to trot, if we say trot if we breathe in, say trot, give a hug with both legs, I'm going to time those cues out and give them in a more rhythmic way. So, okay, on count of 3, we're going to ask that horse to trot. 1, breathe in. 2, say trot. 3, hug with both legs, or whatever those cues are for that student to do whatever skill you're working on. So we can use the rhythm and the tone tied in with other tips that are on this list. Tip number 5 is to decrease the number of reps that you are asking the student to do of whatever skill or warm-up that you're giving them. So if a student is rushing through doing 10 arm circles or rushing through doing 10 seconds of 2-point at the walk, and they're just rushing through the count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and not really doing a quality job. They're just focusing on getting done with the arm circles or getting done with the 2-point. It could be that that's just too much for them at that time. And so they're rushing through it because they don't feel like they can make it to that full 10 seconds. So what you could do is go from a 10 count to maybe a 4 count and really emphasize and explain to them that you want them to do 4 really, really good seconds of holding 2-point at the walk, or 4 really, really good full arm circles instead of rushing. And during that 2-point, I want to see a nice soft up and a nice soft down and the 4 seconds of hold in between. That usually helps on both ends if we're really focusing on a quality 4 count. Same with arm circles. Let them know it's okay. We don't have to do 10 today. Maybe we'll get there in a few weeks. That could be a great goal, but drop it to 4, do it with them, lead by example, tie in some of the other tips I gave you with the counting and the external physical cues, and see if a 4 count is more realistic for those students. And tip number 6 kind of ties all of the other tips in together, and that is to hold your student accountable. Let them know what you expect from them and what the rules are of your lesson. And when you implement those other tips, either 1 or 2 or all 5 of them, you're setting that student up for success so that they know that they can trust you and that you're not going to ask them to do something that they can't do yet. But the trade-off is that you're going to hold them accountable for doing something that you know that they can do, but you're going to give them the tools to help work through that and become a better rider, and also learn that quality of what we do is often better than just finishing or being able to do more, a higher number than somebody else. And that's a super important life skill for our students to learn. When we emphasize quality over speed or a higher number or winning, we also want to add in the different adjustments that we talked about. So using counts or countdowns, linking the speed to a place, hit pause, be aware of your tone and your inflection and the rhythm, decrease the number of reps. And once we've done that, we're going to try again with our student. But as the instructor, make sure that you don't get stuck on perfect. Set that student up for success, make those little adjustments, and then they're probably going to have some type of win that next time that they do whatever you're asking them to do, whether it's getting on, arm circles, transitions, and make sure you look for the win. Celebrate the win, celebrate the try, compare and contrast the first set of arm circles to that last set of arm circles. And hey, even though we did 4 instead of 10 the first time, those 4 were absolutely awesome, and you did 4 all the way around arm circles instead of 4 or 10 arm flappy circles. So make sure you're looking for the win. You don't get fixated on perfection. Praise for the try, and make sure you're showing your student the progress that they made and really point it out to them. And this applies to all ability level students, even those who may not be able to verbally communicate with us. We still want to verbalize the wins and the improvement and celebrate with them and really look for those little tries and little moments of success. So I would love to hear from you. What is your favorite tip from the list that was given? Go ahead and comment down below. Or if you have another tip that works really well, go ahead and add it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you because this is a community where instructors can learn from each other. And if you have another topic that you would like me to talk about that relates to adaptive or therapeutic horseback riding or riding instructor teaching theory and techniques, make sure you put that down in the comments, because this topic was actually a question that had been brought up by several instructors that I've talked to through email and Facebook Messenger, and just comments in general of how do we work with rushy students and speedy students and get them to slow down? What can I do about it? And I feel, is it just me? Is it just me as the instructor making the mistakes, or am I alone? And nope, they're not. So make sure you guys are leaving comments, letting me know what you guys want to learn and talk about. And that is what I base my content off of in the future. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this content from Hoof Falls and Footfalls. Make sure you find me at hooffallsandfootfalls.com. I've got an instructor blog. We are super active over on my Facebook page with lots of fun instructor discussions and quizzes and teaching tips and teaching theory and techniques and disability information. So find me on Facebook, YouTube, and podcasts as well. And if you like topics like this but want to dig deeper than what a 15-minute video can give you, check out the Intuitive Instructor Club, which is a growing library of online videos that you can access at any time. And all of these videos have been made specifically for adaptive or therapeutic horseback riding instructors. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next video.